Hey everyone, it's Cassia and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to join the family, and let's just get right into it. So today we are trying watercolors. I've always loved the way watercolor art looks in a bullet journal, but I haven't really tried it because of the way I was scared it would fray up my paper and ruin the pages in my bullet journal. But since it's the last month of 2020, let's just go all in and try something new. I'm really excited. I picked up these watercolor tablets from my local craft store and it was only like $10, so it was a really good deal for 24 tablets and a tube of white. And then I had some semi-moist colors laying around the house, and I picked up a blending brush to blend all of my watercolors together. The theme this month is Christmas ornaments. I first practiced my design on a sketchbook to make sure this was a theme I wanted, and then lightly sketched out large circles in my bullet journal with a pencil. For a light shimmery base color, I went in with the semi-moist watercolor paint and just added a watery and even coat of paint to each ornament. The ornaments this month are heavily inspired by an old theme from the Instagram of Coffee and Sarcasm. I will link her Instagram down below. She always does such amazing artwork in her journal, and I knew I had to recreate one of her themes myself with a twist. As you can see, I'm using rosy and purple toned reds to add shadows and details in the ornaments and blending the two layers with my koi blending water brush. For the little heads, I don't know what they're called, but the things that connect to the ornaments, I just layered some purple and black paint and used my Tombow hard tip brush pen for the string to hang them. I also used my finger to flick specks of red and gold paint around the page and finished off the cover page by writing December in my signature calligraphy with my hard tip brush pen. So you can see that the watercolor did do some damage on the other side of the page, but since this is my last month in this journal, I'm fine with a little wrinkling and folding. To make sure my journal could handle the watercolors this month, I created a paint test page at the end of my journal, testing out my different paints from gouache to watercolors to my Tombow brush pens. Gouache mixed with lots of water did do the most damage, with almost all of the other paints not folding or bleeding through at all, which I thought was really interesting. I'm just writing December at the top of the page in that same calligraphy style with the hard tip brush pen. Normally I start the monthly calendar by setting up the dates, but throughout this setup I started with the ornaments first to give enough time for the paint to dry. I also wanted to make sure my spreads were really simple and minimal, as the focus of this theme was the beautiful and dreamy ornaments throughout. My process for painting the ornaments was the same each time. Fill in with a light base color, scribble some shadows in with a darker tone, and blend the two together. I kept everything really random and didn't have a set design for the ornaments, as I wanted each one to dry a little bit differently every time. I also varied the shades and opacities of the ornaments so that some could look further away and some could look closer to the foreground to you. Here I'm just adding some purple and black paint to the tops of the ornaments and sprinkling on that same gold and pink color. I'm writing the titles of the days of the week in an all lowercase thin script, and this is pretty much the font that I used throughout the entire setup along with the calligraphy. Of course, I could not do a December theme without making spreads about gift giving. These are always my favorite to fill out since it makes me feel so accomplished, and I love checking off people on my list once the gift is all ready. I used a gold metallic marker for my title and the hard tip brush pen for the rest of my writing. All of my ornaments ran along the bottom of the page. You'll notice that I started strategically placing the ornaments along the corners and the sides because even though the folding doesn't bother me too much, I knew it'd be easier to write in my journal if the page laid flat where I needed to, if that makes any sense at all. Again, I'm changing up the opacity and brightness of each ornament and stacking some behind others and blending everything out with that water pen. Honestly guys, if you are new to watercolor like I am and you want to try it out in your journal, get one of these pens. It's a total lifesaver when it comes to blending out colors and achieving that beautiful washed out look. Other than the ornaments, this spread took me like 2 seconds to make, as I just made 3 columns to write down who the gift was for, what I was getting them, and how much it would cost. Next up is another super easy spread. It's just a tracker to see what presents I received, which pretty much goes hand in hand with the gifts that I gave this year, and it's interesting to see what was on my wish list. Also, I just wanted to show you guys really quick, I went back into my monthly calendar and filled in all of the boxes with my gray mild liner. Lastly, we are just finishing up with the gold specks around the bottom of the page, and we are done with our holiday spreads for this month. For my recurring playlist and reflection spreads, I place the ornaments along the center spine of the pages to act as a barrier and really be the focal point of the spread. Also, if you ever add too much water and don't want your paper to just eat it up, dab it with a paper towel and you are good to go. I wanted to zoom in to show you guys that I'm not really being precise with the paints at all, and I'm straying outside the lines at times, but it doesn't really matter since, to me at least, watercolor is more about the overall feeling and look rather than the small details. This time I used my gold marker for the tops of the ornaments, which I actually liked better than the watercolors. My printer's broken, so I skipped the album cover art and just wrote out the names of the songs and the artists. This worked really well since the cover art would have made the spread way too busy, and we're going for a minimalist vibe here, minus the whole paintings on each spread, of course. I wrote the title in my favorite calligraphy to finish off the spread and moved on to reflections. Honestly, this is the easiest spread to just pop into your bullet journal at any time because all you need to do is write the title and you're good to go. Next up is my weekly spread. I've never tried this layout before, so I'm really curious to see how well it works for me. Since the theme was ornaments this month, I knew I had to try it out, especially since I wanted to keep my watercolor paintings in the same areas for the pages front and back. For the main ornament, I added some darker lines to act as reflective details and add even more dimension. I know the lines and dark colors initially look really harsh and thick, but that's just what I've come to love about watercolor through this process. It's so easy to just add a bit more water and blend everything out seamlessly. Again, I added the specks of gold and red paint, but you could always just use fine liner markers and add the dots yourself if you want a little bit more control. I personally like the splattered paint effect, so I decided to just continue with the watercolor. Finals are upon us, so I wanted to keep this spread minimal without any trackers and have lots of space each day to write my to-do list, important meetings, and work shifts. I wrote the days of the week in calligraphy and drew the lines from the ornament to connect to the days. It kind of looks like a pie chart with information branching out, which I really like. I just did these little banner doodles at the top corners of the page with corresponding dates, and that's it for my weekly spread. And finally, for the quote page, we don't add any doodles. I just wrote simply in script, "It's the most wonderful time of the year," a very Christmas appropriate quote. So guys, that is all for my December plan with me. Thank you so much for watching. I know this video came a little bit later, but that's because I wanted to make sure my theme was perfect for you guys. If you stayed till this point in the video, make sure to like and subscribe and comment below what your theme for December is. I'd love to hear it. By the way, this is an extra weekly spread that I made if you need any ideas. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!